Hello gamers, I'm Encasiel, and in this video I wanted to talk about a controversial topic that I keep seeing pop up in the Throne and Liberty community. I'm referring to combat. I've seen people fight and argue over what kind of combat Throne and Liberty will have and which one is better and stuff like that. So in this video we can take a look at the combat and form realistic expectations when it comes to it. So let's take a look at what combat has to offer and see if it sounds like something you will enjoy. First we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Is Throne and Liberty action combat or tab targeting? In the press release from Amazon's game studio, they call it an action MMORPG. This made a lot of people automatically assume that Throne and Liberty was an action combat game. But we have also seen footage of the game from its early test phases and the director's preview. In this, the game clearly looks like a tab targeting game. Because of these two pieces of information that appear to be contradictory, people end up debating and arguing. Personally, I think there is no reason to believe they are mutually exclusive, and I will explain in a second what I mean by that. But first, let's take a look at what we know so far. There will inevitably be some changes between the footage shown and the release of the game. However, the footage will give us an idea of what the developers are going for. So I think it's safe to assume the game will have some sort of tab targeting combat. In this footage we can clearly see ranged projectiles going directly for the center of the target. We also have a clear targeting system. I know, when people hear tab targeting, they will automatically assume a clunky and outdated system like what Final Fantasy XIV has. This does not have to be the case. Technology has come a long way in the past few years, and while most older games have not bothered to update their combat, if we take a look at newer releases, you will notice major differences between tab targeting styles. For example, we can take a look at Sword of Legends Online. It's a Chinese MMORPG that not a lot of people heard of. This game employs a newer version of tab targeting that almost feels like action combat. While Sword of Legends did not enjoy major success for various reasons, I always felt that their combat was very solid and extremely fun, and for me was the best tab targeting combat that I have seen so far. Moving forward and looking towards the future, I believe MMORPGs don't have to be divided into action, combat or tab targeting, but instead they can take the best elements from both systems and combine them to offer the best results possible. Regardless if Throne and Liberty will manage to do this or not, I believe this is exactly what they are attempting to do, and because I really look forward to the game, I hope they manage to pull it off. For the next element of combat, we need to talk about the resources used in the game. You will have health and mana, which are pretty self-explanatory, and on top of that you will have stamina. Stamina will be used for reactive abilities or defensive abilities. This can be seen in the footage on the screen, the character using the skill on the hotkey 2, which is a block skill that uses stamina. Stamina will also be further consumed based on how much damage is blocked. After the skill is used, it does not go on cooldown and you can potentially use it again as long as stamina is available. Keep in mind, each weapon will have access to similar skills that can be used to block or reflect damage. Of course, some weapons will be more effective than others, such as sword and shield. Stamina will also be used for sprinting, grappling, and when transformed into the ground traveling form and the gliding form. This will bring a lot of nuance to this resource and will most definitely affect some aspects of combat, giving the player various ways to utilize this resource. For example, if you use the glider to drop in the middle of an enemy group, you will have less stamina to defend yourself with, or using a grappling hook to reach someone that took a higher position. This will put you at a slight disadvantage. This means that positioning will be fairly important in Throne and Liberty, especially in PvP. We rarely see this kind of implementation when it comes to stamina, so I do look forward to see how they actually make it feel in-game. The next very controversial feature I want to talk about is AutoCombat. This will basically be a feature that will target monsters around you and cast abilities on cooldown as well as utilize your potions. Please do not confuse this with autoplay feature that some mobile MMORPGs have, that basically play the game for you, including picking and completing quests and other stuff like that. The AutoCombat feature will be restricted to combat. A lot of people are losing their minds over this feature, and I'm here to tell you they are wrong to do so. First of all, this feature will not be able to effectively play the game for you. So, when facing higher level encounters, you will need to actually play the game and pay attention to what is happening. A feature that casts spells automatically will never be able to perform as well as an actual player, and in general will be only used to farm areas where you are already having an easy time. So you might ask yourself, or me, if that is the case, why have something like this in the first place? Well, as anyone playing MMORPGs should know, bots are a problem, and people will use various third-party software to bot and give themselves an advantage. Throne and Liberty developers realize that this is not something they will ever be able to combat, just like no other MMORPG on the market is able to. Armies of bots will always plague the MMO genre. So they decided to give legit players the same advantage and level the playing field between players that choose to cheat and players that choose to play the game in a legit fashion. In my opinion, this is a brilliant move, and even before the game is released, it's causing a great deal of upset in some gold seller and botting communities. Some of these so-called services charge a subscription cost of $50 a month for their third-party bots and other cheating programs. So if the game is providing it for free, it's going to majorly affect their profit. I will not go into any more details because I do not support any third-party software or payments outside the game. I believe that any real-life monetary transaction done should be in-game, so at least some of that money can go towards improving the game. The last thing I would like to touch on is some leaked information from the beta tests that took place in February. Some of this information was voicing that a big amount of skills make the character stationary and as a result make melee combat feel pretty bad. If that is the case, I agree with the sentiment, and I hope that NCSoft took that feedback in and makes combat feel as good as possible. Leaked information should always be taken with a pinch of salt, and the truth is we do not know yet how this will be at release. The reason for these beta tests are so people can test the game and offer feedback so the developers can make changes and improve the product before release. To me this is a concern, but I choose to believe that they have taken in the feedback from their tests and will use this time to improve the product as much as possible before release. I believe this is all the information that is relevant to combat at this time. Let me know in the comments what you think of the combat system so far. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Are you looking forward to it? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video or want to support me in this hobby of mine, please feel free to like and subscribe. See you in the next one, gamers!